I'm Dan, and I'd like to invite you into my collecting obsession. Come on into my office, or as Dr. Strange would say, my sanctum sanctorum. Ooh. Okay. First of all, I'd like to direct your attention to my shelves of toys. I've been collecting toys seriously since I was 12 years old, and I really like to focus on superhero genre, science fiction, and monster toys. I even, for a while, for 3 years, I made a living out of making custom Mego toys. Mego Corporation was a company that was very popular in the 1970s until they went bankrupt in the early 80s. And they produced a line of 8-inch as well as 12-inch action figures with cloth removable outfits. At the time, they had many licenses, unlike any other toy company today. They had Marvel, they had DC, they had Planet of the Apes. It wasn't until they failed to acquire the Star Wars license that ultimately led to their demise. And for 3 years, I even made custom figures based on the popular toy company, even making my own. Danger Dan. Of course, I had a little more hair back then, and it incorporates all my favorite things at the time, snowboarding, and if you look closely, you can see a little Spider-Man comic there. All right. Moving on, I'm trying to make an art out of posing my figures and just, how taking into consideration how they're displayed. So I started hanging them actually from the wall, suspended by fishing lines, and if you look closely, you'll see Spider-Man and the Green Goblin eternally caught in struggle. And if any of you guys think that I'm not nerdy enough, I've got the ultimate nerdy street cred. Check this out. Batman! Or I like to tell the younger kids that aren't familiar with the series, I have Mayor West from Family Guy dressed up as Batman on my arm. I love robots. I love the Shogun Warriors, another popular line from the 70s. You'll get these in here. And this is one of my favorite pieces. I got that from a comic shop in Portland. And I've always been a big Kiss fan, and this is an original 1978 Skinny Gene Simmons Mego. Pretty awesome, huh? And I have, if you look here, I didn't know what to do with the slanty wall when we came in, so I tried to get imaginative with it, and I decided that it would look great if I could decoupage comic pages. And that way, you can, if you look closely, you can read, I think, 3 or 4 comics that I ended up providing themselves in sacrifice. Let's observe a moment of silence to the cause. And if you look closely, you can read a whole storyline as you go down. And this is my little reading nook. And I line the walls with various copies of Mad Magazine, Crazy, Cracked, Monsters. I've got Famous Monsters lining the wall there. And if you come over to this side, I don't know if you can get a very good shot of this, but on the wall here, these are all horror comics from DC Comics that were from my own collection from when I bought when I was 4 and 5 years old from the newsstand. And if you look over here, this is what I like to consider the centerpiece of my collection. It's a vintage spinner rack filled with comics from 1977 to 78, the years that I started collecting as a boy when I was 4 and 5 years old. And it's topped with a vintage DC Depot glowing Daily Planet-esque light. If you look over here, I'm also like vintage skateboard decks. I picked this one up recently on eBay, and I still, believe it or not, at 39 years old, soon to be an old man, I still skateboard on a regular basis. And this is one of my art pieces. I also do art based on horror comics, sci-fi, toys, and things like that. And this is a piece based on one of Johnny Craig's works from the Vault of Horror comic series. And I sell them through my blog on 3dmonster.com. And here's another one of my pieces based on a tin robot. I'm a huge collector of antique tin toys. And I just recently picked this one up. This is a 1954 Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck Disney lunchbox that I found in an antique shop for $8.50, and it's worth $200. Score! Okay, these are all my comics. Pardon the mess, I haven't had time to categorize and file them, but this is where I keep all my boxes full of everything from vintage Tales from the Crypt and weird science fiction, horror comics from the 50s, right up to current issues of Spider-Man and other Marvel and DC characters. This is my workstation. I do all of my blogging and artwork, and I'm also developing a social network site that is basically going to take over the world in a couple of years. And as you see, I'm surrounded by other toys, and I like the old monster magazines from the 70s, so I have those on the wall as well. And you got plenty of old EC stuff here. And another one of my favorite pieces, an old shrunken head. And I also am trying to procure more original art. And I have a painting. I'm good friends with the son of well-renowned American painter Chris Gray. And he sent me this to add to my collection. It's called Gossip. And I love it. It's just a gorgeous piece. And, well, it's got some more of my artwork here. The Green Goblin, the Kooky Space Kook from Scooby-Doo, and Ray Dean from the Shogun Warriors line. And I also, from time to time, collect vintage albums. I've got a lot of Beatles and Rolling Stones albums over here on this wall. Movie posters. I have an original Swamp Thing poster framed. And not too much else to show you. Vintage tin lunch boxes. I collect these as well. And I'm starting to get into statuary, which is a whole nother. This is my first piece. This is Baron Blood from Captain America's Adversary. And hopefully I'll be picking more of those up soon. And I have my graphic novels down here. Those are great for people that want to get collected editions. And I also have a vintage 1967 G.I. Joe tin lunchbox that I got not too long ago. And I just really enjoy being surrounded by colorful, artistic things. I try to be as creative as possible, and I find that surrounding myself with so much diverse pop culture and so many different colors and designs and figures, it inspires me. It inspires me in my artwork. It inspires me in my daily creative life. And, oh, one more. This is an early 1950s cowboy six-shooter. It looks alarmingly real by today's standards, and I would not try to get through an airport with one of these. But this has actually belonged to my mother from when she was a child. And the kids love to play with it these days. And I guess that's pretty much about it. I invite you to come back anytime, and hope to hear from you soon. Now move it along. Go. Go. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. Sit in the flop house. Move it along. Parting shot of more toys. Yep, I forgot